Sound advice to keep your body and mind in perfect harmony. You're tuned in to the Dr. Stephen Show. Now, here is Dr. Stephen Eisenberg.
Hey, welcome to Medically Induced Comedy with Kira and Dr. Stephen. We are so thrilled today to have Dave Asprey, inventor of Bulletproof, the grandfather of all biohacking, the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Asprey, and author of the new book, Fast This Way. Fast this way, not the way you think, this way. And you're going to know how to do this way when we're done, right, Kira?
Oh, I have so many questions. I need to know, does Bulletproof Coffee count as breaking your fast? Because I've been drinking it for 2 years straight. And I always think that I can still, like, that's considered still fasting. What say you?
It depends on whether you ask a hair shirt faster or a regular faster. Do you know what a hair shirt is?
No.
How could you not know? So this weird 14th century sect of priests would weave a shirt out of human hair, and they would wear it to make themselves extra itchy because they were such sinners. So,
Wow.
Okay.
you know, because you deserve to suffer because suffering makes you better. Now, a hair shirt faster says in mouse studies, the mice only had water. Therefore, if you have anything but water, it's not a fast. And there's a technical word for what they are. It's wrong. Because fasting is going without, and you can fast from carbs. It's called keto. You can fast from junk food. It's called eating healthier. You can fast from people. It's called solitude. So you can teach yourself things that feel unsafe actually are safe. And that is the broad meaning of fasting. And there are many paths that get you there. It turns out Bulletproof Coffee is a major useful way for, especially for people who have really busy, focused weeks, to have energy and have zero change in their insulin and have autophagy, the primary benefit of fasting, still active. So yes, Bulletproof Coffee counts as a fast as long as you don't add protein, as long as you don't add sugar. And I have 10 years of people doing this. People have lost 1 million pounds on the Bulletproof diet, including intermittent fasting and Bulletproof Coffee. You can still say it doesn't work, but then you have to really ignore a lot of evidence.
So, okay, I have a question for you because I have 2 kids, right? So I've tried keto and paleo. I've been doing intermittent yelling where I don't yell at them for 16 hours straight. And then I let them have it for 8 hours in a row. I'm down 2 dress sizes. So you tell me, if it's not working.
It turns out there's a supplement that'll help you with that. It's called pepper spray. And when you add that in during the yelling, it totally works much better. So you could upgrade yourself there.
Okay, so let me tell you what I've done. I have had people come over to my house and I say, I'm going to make you a cup of coffee that will change your life, but I need you to leave the room. I don't want you to watch me make it. I don't want you to ask questions. I want you to exit the kitchen. And I will let you know when it's time to come back. And they know it's taking a while, right? It's not just because they see the coffee itself is made. So they know, they see that it's like there's stuff happening. Then they hear the bullet, right? And they're not fully aware of what's going on. Then they come back in and they have a sip and they all say the same thing. Oh, this is amazing. Why didn't you want me to see what's in it? And I said, I will never tell you what's in it until you promise me that if I tell you, you will still continue to drink it. Because if I tell you and you go, right? All the stuff that we learned in the 70s is, then I cannot tell you what's in it. So enjoy this. It might be your only cup of this special, magical, amazing coffee.
Can you say brain octane?
But people freak out
Love
when
that
they
stuff.
see what goes in it. How did you first even pitch this idea to put 2 tablespoons? Is it 2 tablespoons?
We want the genesis story.
It can be
We want the origin story of a superhero. How did you become Mr. Bulletproof in the very beginning?
I will share it with you. And first, though, no, it doesn't have to be 2 tablespoons. If you want like a full-on creamy thing that's going to power you and you're using it to build new cells, yeah, do 2 tablespoons. It can be 4 if you're a really big guy. And it can be a half a teaspoon, but it needs to be a little bit of butter or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is relatively complex water chemistry that isn't that important right now. But the way I figured this out is not in a laboratory. I figured this out because I went to Mount Kailash in remote Western Tibet in the middle of nowhere. It's the holiest mountain in the world.
I've been there.
You have? No way.
I
was like, there's very few Westerners who've gone to this place. It's hard.
You have in your house, whatever dinosaur bones you have behind you. I'm just going to say, me too. Me too.
She was bat mitzvahed right on that mountain.
Yeah, it's where I had my husband proposed.
Funny, that's where most people go when they're really successful for their bat mitzvah.
Okay, so you're in Tibet, like we all have been.
Yeah, 18,000 feet elevation. And I'm there because I want to learn meditation from the masters, really, because I'm not that happy. So I'm like, all right, I could do some work. I'm going to try what works in the US. And apparently exercising all the time and eating lettuce doesn't make you thin. At least it didn't for me. So I went to Tibet and I'm working on my own stuff. And 18,000 feet elevation, 10 degrees below zero, you kind of feel like you're dying because there's no air. And this little Tibetan lady who's like twice as fast and twice as strong as me, she gives me this little bowl of yak butter tea, which is yak butter blended in tea. And then I'll have a blender, so they use a hand-operated butter churn. And I'm thinking to myself, these people must not be very smart because couldn't you just, there's no running water. Couldn't you just eat the butter and drink the tea and not churn it? Because that looks like a lot of work. Yeah. And you have to do dishes afterwards. It turns out they're really smart. And the reason is if you don't blend it, it doesn't work. And they figured out how to live at this incredible altitude with this weird hack. And it drove me nuts. So I came back to Silicon Valley, like, here's some green tea, here's some butter. And it tasted like crap. And I didn't feel good. So I'm like, it's the tea. So I spent $1,000 on old tea and it didn't matter. So I go out and try 25 kinds of butter. I'm like, wait a minute. Grass-fed butter works. Regular butter doesn't work just by the power of deduction. And then I added the brain octane oil, which came from all this anti-aging nonprofit work I'd done because we knew that it made you feel better. We knew it raised ketones, and I found one of them worked better than others. There's different kinds of MCT. And eventually I said, well, what if I do coffee instead of tea? Because I love coffee, but a lot of coffee makes me want to punch people because it's got mold in it. And I didn't know why it made me want to punch people. I just knew this coffee makes me feel good. This coffee doesn't. So I did the work. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this on a friend just like you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And they drink it like, oh my God, I feel amazing. How do I get more of this? And then you tell them. And honestly, you know, Tony Robbins makes people like walk on hot coals.
Yeah.
The first time you go up to your blender and there's this like hot, steamy coffee in there and you take this big old hunk of butter and you're looking at it and you're like putting it there. No, I can't do it. And finally you put it in, you kind of close your eyes and you blend it and then you drink it. And then not only do you not die, you're like, whoa, something just happened. And then you think your way through it. You're like, wait, it's the same fat that was in cream. And I like cream in my coffee. Why is this any different? Well, it works better. That's why it's different, but it's the same. But man, it's changed my life. I mean, I don't feel hunger like I used to. And it's changed millions of people's lives.
That is a big thing for me. Yeah. Because I have kids and it's always, I don't follow the airplane rule. Which is take care of yourself first and then take care of the other people as the plane's going down.
How many moms do, by the way?
They should. So I would be getting breakfast ready for them and I'd completely forget breakfast. I'd have my little, what I call naked coffee now, boring naked coffee. And and I was hungry and I was angry and I'm already those things, like just from being like a Soviet immigrant, I already have that anger inside of me.
Just being a comedian.
Just being
how
a
it
comic.
Works, right?
And so but the minute I made myself a bulletproof first thing, and they know the rules now, let mommy and daddy make the coffee. And then I felt like, okay, now I can move on with the day. I'm not hungry. I feel like it's like it kind of clicks into place. Like in my brain, it's not just the coffee that you're getting, because I do add the MCT and I also add your collagen to it as well.
A huge difference. By the way, collagen does break a fast, just to be really clear. You gotta have without collagen.
Oh no, we're gonna burn this episode. We cannot have this episode.
It doesn't do it that badly.
Yeah.
Your insulin stays even, but your protein digestion is gonna start absorbing the protein. That's okay. It's what's working for you. By the way, most women do better if they only intermittent fast 3 or maybe even 4 or 5 times a week. But doing intermittent fasting, even with Bulletproof, every morning is oftentimes too much because you kind of have a lot going on because of the mom thing. Yeah. So you're trying to focus on a podcast. There's stuff going on all over the place. Yeah. This is why there's a working fast and then there's a spiritual progress fast. They're just different things. And the idea that you're going to just kind of, really just ignore your hunger and try and not be hangry, it doesn't work for most people. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book is that you can overfast. Yeah. And you don't like your life.
Yeah. Look at
and
Dr.
your brain needs those fats. Your brain needs fats to work. I mean, it does. So it's a perfect thing to to start your day with.
So Stephen is lucky because he has two very important initials at the end of his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the Berg, which as a Jew, it is important, but the MD.
Agent
right?
Dr. Steinschneckberger.
You have an MD. I do not. I tell dick jokes for a living. Dave,
I respect that.
I appreciate that.
I meant the MD. Come on, Kira.
You're not medically trained, right? From what I've read about you, and I've studied you for years now, you're not medically, there's no MD.
I'm an unlicensed biohacker, which means I can speak the truth and no one can take my medical license because I don't have one.
Ooh, I love that. I love it.
He basically invented the act of biohacking.
Yes.
I did. It's in the dictionary as a new word.
And I remember hearing about you a couple years ago, maybe like 3-4 years ago. And I heard you on podcasts and I was like, wait, what's happening? But if I try to tell people what I feel as a clown, people are like, you're not a doctor, don't talk to me, you don't have any, they get very, especially now with COVID, right? And all this virus stuff. Like if you aren't like a PhD, if you haven't run a hospital, like they keep upping it. They keep moving the goalposts. You're not allowed to have an opinion. How did you get around that? Because I have actually lost friends by saying things like, hey, I don't think fluoride in water is good for you. And people are like, you're the devil and you're trying conspiracy and you think the earth is flat.
Have you ever considered the fact that those were just bad people and you didn't need them as friends?
I know, but it's still hard, right? It's still hard to like say, all right, I guess I've known you since junior high, but adios,
And, I came out, no one talked about upgrading your health or hacking your own biology. It was really disruptive, really in your face. And it made some doctors mad, but the functional medicine, alternative anti-aging doctors, the ones doing the work that has informed so much of what I do. I've run an anti-aging nonprofit group for 15 years. They're like, oh my God, someone's putting it in language that makes people care. Because who cares about anti-aging medicine? Old people, right? Who cares about their health? Sick people. Everyone else, health is like number 17 on your honey-do list.
Mm-hmm.
And however, though, do we care about our energy and our power and our control and showing up the way we want? Yes. And as a mom of 2 kids and a working person, if you can call comedy working.
How dare you?
How dare I?
Dare you? We need the arts.
We do need the arts. I'll give you that. So you got that, or you have all these other things, and all of us want more energy, want more control, and some of us want to get swole, and some of us want to be really smart, some of us want to be really fast. It's different stuff, right? But end of the day, I just want my body to do what I want. I don't want my mind making me think about tacos all day long, all that stuff. So it's about control. And that's why people listen, because I was willing to change the dialogue around health. I don't even like talking about health. Screw that noise. I want to talk about power. I want to talk about showing up. I want to talk about kicking ass because that gets me excited. Being healthy. Yeah, I used to have Lyme disease and chronic fatigue syndrome and all the nasty stuff that I had. I'm done. Like I'm way past that. I'm younger, I'm faster, I'm stronger. Mm-hmm. And it was that I just couldn't take it anymore. So that's why people listen to me, because I was the guy who's like willing to say it when no one would. And I took hits for it, man. A lot of hits.
And you were a guinea pig. You were a guinea pig for yourself.
Oh yeah.
And can you take us back to the very first, can you remember the first biohack you did for yourself? What was it? Can you get back there?
Yeah, this is probably a good one. When I was a kid, I grew up in a house that had toxic black mold in the basement. We didn't know it. I just had these nosebleeds all the time, which is a classic symptom of mold, and sinus infections all the time, strep throat. And I noticed that if I took grapeseed extract, how many 16-year-olds, like 20 something, whatever years ago, would take grapeseed extract? I don't know, but I read something like, if I take this, my nose stops bleeding. That's amazing. I can control whether I'm going to be at prom and just like some kind of horror movie. I'm serious. It was bad. And I'm like, that's really interesting. And I remember another time, like, okay, I'm going to get healthy. I'm already overweight. I'm doing this like summer school PE class. I'm going to be so strong. And I ate this huge bowl of grape nuts with skim milk. Right. And I'm trying to run right on my, arthritic knees that already have been diagnosed with arthritis. And I'm all I can do is fart. And I'm just like, you know what? Today sucked. Like I ate a healthy breakfast and it sucked more than a normal day. Like something's not right. And I have just these little things like, what if I do this? what happens, and just this assumption that I might have control. But then I'd read something like all calories are the same. You can have corn syrup or you can have margarine and you'll feel exactly the same. And it's actually true. Either one of those makes you feel like garbage. But it turns out you have so much control. And we were taught very specifically by big food companies not to have control. And now you fast forward to writing a book on fasting. Guess what makes a fast easy? What did you eat for your last meal? Because there's 5 classes of things you can eat that will make you ravenously hungry as soon as you try to fast. And you're going to fail or you're going to act like a jerk. Or you could eat the right stuff and then just sail through a fast. And this isn't talked about in the world of fasting either. So I wanted to put this stuff out there that I wish someone had told me when I was trying to figure all this out, when I was fat, when I was tired.
So what are those? Tell us some things we could eat in our last meal.
Well, don't tell us everything, so people will still have to buy the book.
Yes.
They're going to buy the book because it's an awesome book. Because how is he going to get the story of me fasting in a cave where a shaman drops me off for 4 days with no people and no food anywhere? That was how
I also read that you're going to teach the book too. So that they can read it and also be taught by the shaman himself.
How about I teach it for free?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where can people find that course?
Go to fastthisway.com and sign up for the fasting challenge. More than 20,000 people all fasting together, learning how to do it, including a 1 or 2 day spiritual fast at the end. But I'll teach you the book. You're probably going to want to buy the book. That's my guess here. But I'm doing that because I've never taught a book before and I've written a bunch of them and I love teaching. So this is a chance just to give back to people who are interested and to teach people who are like, I could never do this. I was the 300-pound guy who, like, someone told me I should try and skip breakfast. I'm like, I would die and then I would punch you. And like, I was wrong. So I can help people not have that effect from fasting.
So
I love that.
I have a question. I feel like every sentence that comes out of your mouth sounds like you're pitching us a movie. So I was on a hill with a shaman. I was with yak butter. Like, is part of your well, because you're an entrepreneur, right? Like, is part of it like you want to go do the things that not everyone is going to be able to do? Like, you want to find that extra thing? Because I would love to have a shaman, but who can keep everyone on their payroll, right? It's hard nowadays. Like, I would love to go find a chick with yak butter up in the hills. Like, is that part of the intrigue for you? Because you do this stuff like the cryo, like what's the thing? The cryo tube? My Upgrade Labs company. Yeah, we helped to make cryo popular, and I have a red light therapy company, and I make the glasses called True Dark and all this stuff. No, here's the thing. I am profoundly, stupidly lazy. Okay. I do not want to do more work than is required to feel good and to do all the things I want to do in life. So I'm always looking for a better way because I don't want to do the work. And it's morally beautiful. And this is how all people are if we would just admit it to ourselves. You could walk to work. You just don't do it because you have a car. And it's okay that you have a car. And it's actually good because the car gave you time to go play with your kids afterwards. Because if you had to walk 10 miles each way, you spend all your time walking and life would suck. Yeah. And if we didn't have baking powder, you'd have to wake up at 4 a.m. and make your bread rise. But fortunately, we have better ways, right? It's okay to free up time and energy. So I'm just more lazy than the average person. And so I seek these things out, and then I only make what I can't buy. The market size for coffee with no mold in it was 0. And I had no idea if 100 people wanted it or maybe more. The market size for MCT oil was essentially 0. For collagen, 0. I'm like, you can't buy this stuff made right. Collagen protein bars, 0. But Bulletproof made all these things. We created categories because I couldn't buy them and I wanted them and I knew they would work. And the same goes for the True Dark glasses. They're not blue blockers because blue blockers actually kind of don't work on either end. They block some blue or they block more than blue because you have to do it right. And, Wait,
and
are these
only
the
right enough.
That are yellow that you wear on airplanes?
Yeah, I wear them on airplanes. I wear them anytime I'm under junk light. So is that all the time? So what do they do? What are you getting right now? Do I look better? Do I look skinnier? Do I look younger? All of the above. In fact, I'm feeling very attracted right now.
Oh my goodness. That is the sweetest thing. Thank you. I can be discreet if you can. I know we're both
I'm into Steven. Sorry.
Me too. Yeah. No, that I knew that. What benefit are you getting right now? What are you getting?
So what's going on here is I'm blocking 3/4 of the blue light that's hard on your eyes and hard on your brain. It turns out you sit under bright LED lights all day long, you're probably going to get sugar cravings at the end of the day because it's stressful on the brain. You're already stressing yourself by fasting. So there's a chapter in Fast This Way. How do you combine food and light to change your circadian rhythm. So I became a morning person, which I never have been in my entire adult life, by combining when I eat and when I'm exposed to light. Because light is the biggest signal for telling your body when it's day or night. Food is the second biggest signal. So you can take someone who can't go to bed on time and make them go to bed on time. Make someone who goes to bed too early and is boring and make them less boring by having them stay up late naturally. And it takes about a week, as long as you do both together. So you couldn't buy glasses that only blocked some blue, because blue blockers during the day don't let your body wake up, and then they don't put you to sleep enough at night. So I have two pairs of glasses. One's for during the day, so I don't get junk light in my eyes, and one at night that blocks more than blue. So I just go to sleep in 15 minutes. You put them on and it's like you took a sleeping pill. And it's because you have to do it right. And I patented that combination of stuff because it's like the idea, oh, blue blockers are good. No, you have to get enough precision to get the results you want, but you don't have to be perfect either. And what we do is we say, oh, have a high fat diet. Well, that's stupid because you don't know what kind of fat it is. And they go, oh, animal protein is bad for you. I'm like, sorry, industrial chicken meat is disgusting and wrong on every level for human biology, for chickens and for soil and for water. It's just bad. But a grass-fed steak is a totally different effect on the body versus a Slim Jim, right? So how can you lump them all together? It's actually dumb. And it's the same thing. So just be less dumb and a little bit more precise, but not perfect. And the results you get are like 10 times better than sort of doing it I oversimplified it. And it's the same with fasting. Fasting, good. Fast every day. That's called starvation. Don't do that.
You want to get to that. You want to get to the point where your body is doing autophagy.
Autophagy. Yeah.
Autophagy. And that's where your body is consuming all of that excess fat, and you're living.
Well, it's not fat, it's protein. And there's a lyric for that, autophagy, that once was me. Now I'm rolling with my yak butter tea.
I like
think,
that.
Kira, do I qualify as cool?
I think we're going to have to cut that part out. What if...
I knew I would fail.
Tell me what hormesis is. It sounds like a Greek character in a tragic play. Am I saying it right?
You are saying it right, but it sounds really bad coming out of your mouth. I don't know why.
I knew we'd be best friends. I knew it. What is hormesis? Hormesis. What is it?
I love being on a comedy show. This is so relaxing. My inner seventh grader is coming out right now. Now, hormesis is this old Greek idea of if it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger. And some kinds of stress make you stronger, and other kinds like, oh, I took a half a dose of cyanide, that actually doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you weaker. So some stressors are good because they cause growth, like lifting heavy things or not eating for a while. It causes your cells to become stronger. We want to create hormesis in the body, but if you overload yourself with too much hormesis, it just creates cellular damage and inflammation, and you don't recover. So the idea is, how do I turn up enough pressure on the body while being as lazy as possible and suffering as least as possible, so that my body will wake up and go, you know what? Maybe an ice age is coming. Maybe a famine is coming. I guess I'll go to the trouble of making young, fast, strong, hot cells. I say hot as in ability to turn on heat and hormones.
I want to go to that website, young, fast, hot, strong. Like it.com. I'm going to buy that domain.
The domain's for sale.
Okay, so you want to make your cells young, fast, hot, and strong.
And what happens there is you show the cells, you might have to run into this. And you can go to the gym and you can pound out a whole bunch of reps, or it turns out if you want to show them, you might have to lift a car off somebody someday. Lift really heavy things for 5 minutes or 10 minutes a couple of times a week. And you can actually put on more muscle doing that in a structured way than if you kind of flop the pink dumbbells around for a long time. The same thing with cardio. I've got 2 studies now that I've talked about on Bulletproof Radio. 2 20-second intervals of sprinting really hard in 7 minutes creates more cardiovascular improvements than 45 minutes of doing chronic cardio on a spin bike. I wanted my 38 minutes back. So I'm always looking for that. Look, I'm lazy, right? Even meditation, you can get more meditation in less time. You can get more sleep in less time, right? And it might be worth having a gadget or a pair of glasses or whatever, as long as you get your time back, because that time, if you have enough energy to use the time, that's when you serve your community. That's when you serve your family. Like, I'm CEO of 4 companies. I have like New York Times bestsellers and, top 100 podcasts, but I have kids and a wife, and they get my time, and I drop my son off at school, and my book launched today, right? Woo! To be able to do that, I don't waste time.
Wait, you dropped your son off at school? As someone whose kids are stuck at home, I'm so angry right now.
Oh, Canada.
Oh,
Canada. I moved up here 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. So I like to get naked with Koreans.
You too?
I really do.
Nice.
And it really sucks right now. I only, honestly, truly, this is 100% the truth. I don't even know if Steven knows this about me. All I want in life is to be naked with Koreans.
This is very interesting. I have to know more.
Okay. So I was raised in Russian banyas. Okay. So saunas where they beat you with vaniki, which are like, it could be any type of branch, but usually it's like a birch branch, right? So you're beaten heavily. I mean, you're beaten just at normal household, times as well, but you're beaten with this vanik in the sauna. You sweat, you do a cold plunge. So because everything's closed here in Los Angeles, I haven't been naked with Koreans since before March.
Well, why Koreans versus Russians? What are they to hit you with instead?
Because, like my husband went to Catholic school for 12 years, so now he's cured of Catholicism.
And he likes you to spank him, right?
No. No, what I'm saying is I was raised by Russians. I don't need to hang out with them anymore.
Okay.
I go to Korean spas. Nobody talks to me. They're actually angry that I'm there, so they don't want to even look at me. And I just go to Korean spas, and they talk about me in Korean. It's totally cool. I get it. And I sweat and I steam and I go in the sauna and I do a cold plunge, and I have a Korean woman viciously attack my undercarriage, and I pay them for it, and I go home and I'm so happy. And that's all I want every day on a daily basis. And I know it's a problem, and here's how I know. When you start lying about things, it's a problem. So like my husband, I would land from scratch your armpit, Mississippi, doing jokes, and I would land at LAX, and I would go straight to a Korean spa, and I wouldn't tell him. That's how I know it was a problem.
How much work on the undercarriage are they doing? I mean, that's, I think, where the line gets drawn.
It's not a good marriage. What I'm saying is,
I look up undercarriage.
There's actually undercarriage fasting. You might need to try that.
I want my taint to be sweaty at all times. So
I do too.
Yeah. So I know that you're into that too.
No, I meant your taint, not mine.
Okay, I get it. But and Steven, you're a doctor. Tell me, this is like, not sweating profusely is bad for you, right? Like not having that outlet.
Well, Dave can tell us about, the whole, in Bulletproof Labs, there's saunas, there's infrared saunas, there's cold plunge pools. So you want to,
we don't all have a Bulletproof Lab in Canada.
I do. I'm building one. It's opening next month.
Where? Los Angeles?
Victoria, BC. There's 2 in LA.
Come on.
There's one at the Beverly Hilton. It's open. There's one in Santa Monica. It's open. We're on reduced hours, but we can do it.
Wait a second.
Cryotherapy, red light therapy. We can make you sweaty.
I can go and sweat?
Yeah.
And then plunge. You want to be alternating. You want to have that really cold shower, and then you want to turn up to the heat, right? You want to alternate, Dave. What is the
Or you can do cryotherapy first, which is liquid nitrogen, where the air is like really cold, 270 below zero. And you stand in that for 3 minutes.
What's that going to do? What's going to happen?
It turns on a huge amount of endorphins, so you feel really good, and it burns a ton more calories for the rest of the day. Increases the amount of brown fat in your body, which you can't see, but which burns energy and calories all day long. It's really good for recovery from almost anything, especially after a flight. Reduces inflammation, all sorts of good stuff. But this idea of going from hot to cold or from cold to hot or back and forth, it's really well borne out. They do it in Scandinavia. They do it in Russia. They probably did it in Canada, but I know they were too nice up here, so they forgot. And what happens is when you go into a sauna, something called heat shock proteins form. And heat shock proteins also form during exercise. And when that happens, it's like you actually exercised. And the studies for saunas and for sweating, It's a reduction of all cause mortality. Basically, you die less if you do saunas, so anything you can name. And then if you do the cold plunge afterwards, it improves the effect even more. So this idea of doing it the way they did in Russia, it's right. And it's backed by really good research that's recently come out. And there's so many things like yak butter tea. I promise you the Tibetans didn't study water chemistry to figure out why. They just noticed it worked and they wanted to do it. In Russia, similar thing. Hey, we've been here for a couple thousand years. Let's see what works because it's dark and cold all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry,
so that totally happens.
My husband's bringing me power. We are, I wish we could run this house. Thank you. Off of Bulletproof Coffee. But we don't have power today.
Oh, wow. You have a generator outside or something?
We have a generator. And
Nice.
My husband, I just texted him, I need power. It's 80-mile-per-hour winds here in Los Angeles.
Whoa.
Brain octane oil.
I'm still listening. It's nothing like being in Tibet, I'll be honest, but I'm here. And it's
Dave,
fine.
what's-
It's part of the COVID. This is all just part of this year. We're still in 2020, let's be honest. Okay.
Dave,
I haven't seen the weirdest stuff. They actually told me I couldn't renew my driver's license by mail because of COVID. I'm like, I was going to do it by mail anyway. What's going on with that? So there's all sorts of people are like, I can't do X because of COVID. Like you could do it with or without COVID because it's a remote job. So I don't know. There's some kind of weirdness going on there.
Speaking of COVID, to recover from my 2 shots, thank you. I'm taking
Vodka or what?
I'm taking Bulletproof Glutathione Force.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
Yes.
let's talk about
yes.
that.
Highly recommended. It's great for detox. It's great for detoxing. It's great for your brain. It's great for sort of the detox that you need after, say, a COVID vaccine.
So 10 years ago, glutathione was an unknown compound outside of a few like very esoteric medical circles. And I'm like, guys, toxins make us act like jerks. They make us tired, they make us swollen, and they make you fat. And I dealt with more toxins than the average person just for whatever luck I had in my life. So the primary detox pathway is in the liver. It uses glutathione. It's what actually chews up alcohol so that it doesn't become toxic. If you run out of glutathione, you get liver damage. And there's another secondary detox pathway. So in my original writings, I'm like, hey, you might want to take glutathione when you drink or when you're sick or when you're tired or when you're flying, or anytime you're exposed to something, because it increases the ability of your brain to work and your liver to detox. So I made this Bulletproof Glutathione Force. It's been around for a long time, and it's one of the few forms that's a dry powder that can be absorbed by the gut without just being broken down. And I take that stuff whenever I fly, whenever I don't feel quite right. And I have for 10 years, and my kids take it. I mean, my wife takes it. We all use it whenever like something's not quite right. And it's a major, major improvement. And I don't know with the vaccine, I don't know the detox pathways for mRNA and all that. I kind of doubt it's in your P450 pathway, but glutathione generally is good for you. And guess what? When you do intermittent fasting or you do heat exposure or cold exposure, and if you think about it, fasting from heat is cold exposure. It's just an intermittent heat fast. What you end up doing is you increase your body's ability to make glutathione in your cells. Strong cells make glutathione, weak cells don't. And strong cells that make glutathione love it when you take extra glutathione to support you when you need it most, which is what you just did.
Yeah. Now,
Okay. I have a question, Dr.
ahead.
Steve.
Yeah.
Stevie Eyes. I have the MTHFR gene mutation, right? And
Mother
so do my
what?
kids. MTHFR.
Homocysteine. She's
Mother
at risk.
effer. What?
Yeah.
I know.
What?
Yes.
I know what
Mother
that is. I'm
effer.
just
Yes,
plain
of
dumb.
course you do. Of course you do.
Dave's an expert in that, but you're at risk for having higher homocysteine levels for sure,
Right.
which could
So-
lead to premature cardiovascular
Which I was told I
disease
can't methylate. Oh, what are the words? Am I using the words
Yeah, no,
right?
you're using them just right. So you
So-
shouldn't use meth, right?
No math, none, no more. But the glutathione, I always hear
Heisenberg.
about glutathione with MTHFR, right?
Yep. It can
Well,
be
you wanna
really
take
helpful.
A methylated folate from Bulletproof.
Magic.
Wait, what's happening? Let me write that down. What
so
am I taking?
here's what's going on. I have the
Special
same
folate.
genes.
Okay.
And when a normal person says, oh, Dave, I'm going to do the Bulletproof diet, which involves eating more of the right kinds of fats, get rid of the omega-6 oils, get rid of sugars and a bunch of artificial fake food stuff. And most people radically reduce triglycerides, which is good for you. Their HDL, good, healthy cholesterol, goes substantially up. And their LDL can do all sorts of different stuff depending on their biology. But for the people who have inflammation markers that go up, most people, they go straight down. it's because you have MTHFR, and it's because your body's bad at adding these little chemical methyl groups to things. So you need extra. So you take it in methyl folate or methylcobalamin, which is a B12, a specific form of it. And so I just tell people, look, most of you are going to have these results. It's predictable. If you don't, look at your homocysteine levels. If they're high, it's because you have genes like I do. And then you need to take a couple supplements. And yes, you'll benefit from glutathione. And then there's another group of people who might have other weird genetic things like that, or they might have like a tooth infection or some sort of low-grade infection in their body, and their inflammation levels don't drop. And then they need to figure out where their infection is. And that's indicated by something called CRP. But guess what? You do intermittent fasting, which you didn't spend any money, you didn't spend any time, and you got more energy from doing it. It reduces inflammation, the chronic inflammation, the bad kind, whether you have MTHFR, whether you have a problem with the systemic infection or not. And it does this without interfering with your body's ability to react to a strong infection. So basically, you stop the bad inflammation regardless of the cause.
Beautiful. Now, I want to get back to the book because
Are you making a commission, Eyes? Are you making are you getting a kickback?
Hey, I think Stephen's the best guy ever. Just tell me more, Stephen. Tell me more.
He really is.
I want to get
Look at
back to the book.
Punim.
I want to get back to the book because so many people are talking about fasting now. I mean, if you go to Instagram, every other person who's in health and wellness is saying intermittent fasting. And I want people to listen to, be able to walk away from this, to buy the book, but also what's something we can do like today? How do they start? Is it 12 hours? Is it just don't eat from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.? How can they just start the process before the book arrives, before they get into the class, and everyone do the class?
I'm doing it.
How do they start? We're both
the
doing the
minimum effective fast, especially if you have some weight to lose. And especially if you're a woman with weight to lose, because it's a little bit harder for women. It is a 12-hour fast. Oh my God. Okay. What does that really mean? Have dinner a little bit early. Have dinner at 5 or 6 if you can pull that off. Because you're probably not commuting, you can pull that off. So you do that. You have 4 hours till bedtime. And then if you sleep 8 hours, well, you just did a 12-hour fast, mind blown. And maybe you want to be like really aggro and have breakfast a couple hours later. And there, you just did a 14-hour fast. Or maybe you wait till lunch. You just did a 16-hour fast. Or maybe you wait till 2 p.m. You did 18 hours. You're a rock star of fasting. The trick is an early dinner and then sleep during your fast. It's pretty easy to do. That's what we call it, break fast. You do it after you sleep. And just 12 hours 3 times a week is the minimum thing that will start to move the needle. And if you can make it 14 hours 3 times a week, that's really good. But the mistake that everyone on Instagram is doing, it's the same thing as the plant-based vegan thing. I was a raw vegan, made me super sick. I felt great for a little while. Oh, vegan stuff works, therefore I'll be even more vegan and more vegan and more vegan, and it works less and less. And then you go, oh, that's fine. I'll be keto. Screw that vegan stuff. And then you go, okay, I feel great. And then, oh wait, hold on. I'm not keto enough. I had 20 grams of carbs. I have to go down to 15 because I'm not getting results. I only lost half my weight. And then you're stuck in this like kind of keto hole. And then what happens with fasting? Oh, great. Now I'm not necessarily keto. I'm actually willing to eat carbs again, which is necessary for human life. You don't have to eat them every day. Being ketosis sometimes is great, but all the time is terrible, especially for women, but also for men. Well, then, okay, fasting's good. 18 hours, I could go 23 hours. I'm going to do OMAD because it sounds really cool, which means 1 meal a day. And then I'm going to fast every single day, 1 meal a day. But I could do more because fasting is so amazing, even though I don't feel that good. And I wake up without a kickstand if I'm a guy. And if I'm a woman, my hormones are all ruined and my sleep is ruined for both of us. But it's because I'm not fasting enough. I'm going to do a 48-hour fast every week to show the world what a good influence I am. And you're in the same exact trap. That's the vegan trap, the keto trap, and the fasting trap. More is not always better. So I want people who are new to fasting, start out using the fasting hacks. Having a little bit of MCT oil is a really good thing when you're teaching your body to burn fat for energy, because then you'll have fat present to burn for energy. Do that. Try it 3 days a week, extend it, but do not fast the same amount every day. And at least once a week, have breakfast. Do it on Saturday or Sunday morning. Do it with your family, do it with your friends, and have some pancakes during breakfast. Just make them gluten-free without bad oils and crap like that. In other words, have some carbs sometimes. Don't be all keto, don't be all fasting, and please don't overfast. That's the most important thing happening right now. Keto went down that road. It went from cyclical, clean, bulletproof style keto to dirty keto. I'm going to eat cream cheese and I'm going to eat these, pork rinds. And I wonder why it doesn't work. Well, it's more complex than just avoiding carbs. And fasting, especially for women, Intermittent fasting means sometimes you eat, and you don't have to do it every day. And when you're menstruating, have some protein for breakfast. You already have enough physiological stress. You don't need another stressor on top of it.
Cookies are protein, right?
Protein, yeah. And I love
protein.
You should have like a plant-based protein. Like sarin nerve gas is a plant-based protein. It's one of my favorites.
I agree. I did try keto. It did work for me after my second kid. People thought I was still pregnant 3 years later. It drove me crazy. And they would be like rubbing my belly and they're like, oh, what are you going to name it? And I was like, Wendy's, because that's what's inside of there, not a baby. Okay.
I love that.
So but keto did work, but then I stopped because I agree with you.
It's fantastic. It totally works, but not without a break, right? It has to be intermittent cycling.
Right. And then I got my husband on it and he did it for a little while, lost a little weight. And then he was like, this is completely not realistic. And he has no intention of ever going back. So I get it. Like it's also like a mind thing. Like I also tried to be vegan / vegetarian / you don't cook any food over, 85 degrees or whatever.
I did all that too.
And it's not, so it's also mentally not sustainable. When the pandemic first hit, I was like, all right, I'm home. I'm usually a very absentee mother, but I'm home. My kids are home. I'm going to do grain-free for my children because their pediatrician, who's very holistic, who I love. A lot of people probably would not agree with him. He's super crunchy, very granola, right? He tested them right away for leaky gut and all that stuff, right? And he said, if you ever have the time to do grain-free, I suggest you try to do it. And we did it for like the first 3-4 months of the pandemic. And it was very frustrating mentally, but I tried to like we can do muffins with cassava flour. Like I tried to do stuff to help them through it. And now we just do gluten-free. So they're gluten-free, not grain-free. It was just too hard to sustain that. But they're gluten-free. Like that's something that I'm not going to budge on because I have seen a huge difference, massive difference in just their, we all have kids, just, their anxiety. They're like, they
chill out.
They're still douchebags to each other, but
how old are they?
5 and just turned 10.
Oh, you have like 15 more years of that. So you're totally good.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Now, what if I when I wake up, Dave, what if I've just slept 8 hours, I get up, I do a shot of brain octane oil, a little one because my gut has to get used
you might want to blend it with something. You're pretty hardcore if you just take a straight shot of the oil. That's pretty tough.
What's the brain octane? Is that MCT?
It's one type of MCT. There's 4 different chemical names you can call MCT. It's the one that raises ketones the most.
Okay. But I have a little coffee and I put a little shot in. I have the butter. That's technically breaking the fast, but it's
not if you look at a fast as constant insulin autophagy. Yeah. So you can have fat during a fast and your fasting machinery still works.
I consider that I'm still fasting. The bulletproof coffee in the morning, I'm considering that part of the fast.
It is. And people just get so mad about that. But look, the godfather of fasting, Walter Longo, he has the fasting mimicking diet. He's like, oh, look, you can eat this food and still be in a fasted state. And I'm like, okay. So it's what foods turn off a fast, and it's any kind of carb other than prebiotic fiber, which you can take during a fast. And turns out fat doesn't break a fast. And if you eat no fat during a fast, you might burn fat a little bit faster, only if your body is primed to do that. But for most of us, having MCT oil for a long period of time teaches the body to burn fat regularly. And then if you decide I'm going to go without it, you can do it. But having had so many just profound stories of weight loss without hunger, without suffering, without being tired, I know the MCT thing works, and there's good studies backing it now.
I want bulletproof olive oil at some point. Are you guys formulating an olive oil?
We aren't. And it turns out olive oil is okay, but most olive oil in the market is adulterated and they don't tell you. And olive oil is still pretty high in omega-6. So I like, okay, a tablespoon a day of olive oil, put it in your salad dressing. But people are saying, I'm gonna do 6 tablespoons of olive oil a day. You're getting too much of the inflammatory stuff. So it's all about the butter, the coconut oil, grass-fed animal fat, some avocados. But you can overdo olive oil, but it has great polyphenols and other good stuff in it. So we probably won't do an olive oil. If I did, I'd probably put some other stuff in there to make it a little bit more magic than just plain olive oil.
You could do like omega-6 reduced olive oil.
I wonder, how would you do that? Okay, now you got me thinking. Molecular distillation.
There are a couple brands, right? They talk about, is it California Grove? Is that the one that they say is very pure? They do.
I'd like to see the labs on that, because even organic wine in California is just full of glyphosate, because we've allowed in California, they just spray glyphosate everywhere, and it's all over the place. Even when it's not on your land, it's in the water, it's in the air. And that's one of the reasons that you and your kids feel like crap on gluten, is you're not just getting gluten, you're getting stuff that's been sprayed with extra glyphosate that ruins your gut bacteria. It's bad for you. So anything that's, in olive oil in California, I'd want to look at the labs and say, did you test for glyphosate? And if it's truly clean and it's free of that, and it's free of oxidized olive oil, and it's got high polyphenol content, it's going to be amazing. It's going to taste so good, and you'll be able to just eat it straight, just pour it on salad, and it's actually good for you. But it's like doing it right matters so much. I don't know that brand. I don't want to pick on everything in California. I'm sure there's good food there. It's just like, we got to stop spraying glyphosate everywhere, because it's destroying our soil, and it's destroying our guts, and it's harming our kids.
Do you have a particular brand of olive oil that you use, that you recommend, or?
I usually buy small artisanal stuff directly from Europe. But the reason I'm doing that is I don't eat a lot of olive oil, right? I'll use a little bit on salad, right? It's not a major fat component in my diet. And I'd love to just plug one. I would right now, if I knew a brand that was like super highly tested like that. So I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but the studies are showing something like 70% of olive oil has canola snuck in there, which is really bad for you. And it's partly because the mafia in Italy, where olive oil is often from, controls it. And they're literally playing like mafia games with the composition of our food. It's pretty scary.
Do you ever get in nutrition?
I don't believe that. I don't feel like the mafia has ever done anything unscrupulous, Dave. So
Okay, you want to know another mafia story? The mafia bought the milk quotas in Canada. So all of the dairy stuff here is controlled by a family from Italy, and they ban grass-fed butter from Europe from being imported into Canada. And so there's like a whole butter smuggling ring here where we bring grass-fed butter in from other countries. We have like big truckloads, and we have tunnels where butter comes under the border. It's ridiculous. I'm not kidding. The mafia really did ban European butter from Canada. I don't know why.
No butter will be given.
It's a Canada problem. I get it.
There'll be no butter in Canada. No butter whatsoever in Canada.
I cut you off, Stephen. I'm sorry. What were you going to say earlier before we talked about
No, I was
butter in your
just going to
pants?
say that if you finish dinner by 6 and you get up and you have a bulletproof coffee, you're going to be fine. You're going to that basically is your fast. You
won't care about food. Like
you won't be hungry until when, Dave? I want people to have an action plan.
Most people get about 4 hours out of a cup of bulletproof coffee. And when I say not hungry, here's what would happen to me when I was overweight. Okay, I'd say today I'm not going to eat the donuts or the cookies, depending if it's afternoon or morning. And then it's 10 a.m. Okay, I had my breakfast usually, but it would be the same thing if I had tried fasting for the first time. And then someone brings a box of donuts in, and you look at them, you go, I'm not going to eat the donut. And the donut talks to you and it goes, eat me. Right? And you go, no. And it goes, eat me. And pretty soon it's like arguing with a 2-year-old. And it wears you down. And you go, fine, I'm just going to have half the donut. And then after you eat the donut, you eat half of it. You go, oh, well, I already failed. I'll eat the other half. And you go, why am I such a failure? I'm such a bad person. We're actually wired to do this. It's in our tissues. This is the don't die of famine response that people have. Now, when you do the bulletproof thing I'm talking about, or maybe just black coffee if your metabolism is strong, or maybe the prebiotic fiber, I'm not trying to sell my bulletproof coffee stuff here. If you do this, the donuts are there and they just shut up and they don't ask you to eat them. And you're like, I actually just don't want one. Like I'm full.
Yeah.
And that feeling, oh my God, it's liberating as someone who's been really heavy and really fought the good fight with the donuts and lost an awful lot. I don't fight that anymore.
I don't get hungry until late afternoon and almost dinner time.
So cool, right?
Right. But then what should I eat for dinner? Some avocado, some salad, some lean grass-fed.
No,
protein.
fatty grass-fed meat. The fattier, the better. If it's grass-fed, grass-finished, that's the gold. And this is even going back to indigenous people in North America. Okay, when you would hunt a buffalo, you take off the fatty hump, and that goes either to the pregnant women and the liver too, or the kids or the chief, because the fat's the most precious part of it. Right. And then the lean muscle tissue, okay, yeah, you could eat that too. You can make some pemmican or jerky or something, but really the good stuff is the fat. But if you're going to eat industrial meat, which you ought not to do because it's bad for your gut, it's bad for the planet, bad for soil, it's bad for the animals. Like nobody wins on that stuff. But if you do eat that, eat the leanest cut possible because all the toxins go into the fat. So either the nutrients go in if it's grass-fed or the toxins go in. And when I say toxins, they put a little pellet in the ear of an industrial cow. And the pellet is a fake estrogen that's distilled from mold toxin that's 1,000 times stronger than normal estrogen. And they put it in the cow's ear. And get this, Stephen, it makes the cow's fat on 30% less calories. Now, if such a substance exists, going on a low-calorie diet is for chumps because it's not science anymore. You mean you can get fat on less calories? If that's possible, it's not just about the calories, and it never was. And telling people it's about the calories is mean-spirited. And when I was fat and I was struggling to cut my calories and I felt like crap because I didn't have enough energy because I didn't eat enough energy and I still don't lose weight, well, those other things matter. So if you're going to eat industrial meat, cut off all the fat. If you're going to eat grass-fed meat, eat all the fat.
Funny story. My nickname in high school was Fatty Hump. So that's... What a
You too.
coincidence.
We have so much in common, Kira.
We have so much in common. I want to touch upon one thing before we go, because you have 7 more companies to start after we get off this podcast.
It's a bad habit. I'm going to fast from starting companies.
Just real quick, can you touch upon ways that people can kind of use your biohacking techniques to help them through this craziness that is coronavirus?
Okay.
Because I know what I do, but I don't know if I'm even doing it right. I'm going to listen to you.
I bet you are. Here's the definition of biohacking when I first put this community together. It's the art and science of changing the environment around you and inside of you so that you have full control of your own biology. And what this means is that you can change things, either the way you think things, but more likely what you eat, your light, your temperature, your behaviors. And it sends a signal to your tissues that make your tissues become stronger and more resilient. And when they do that, they release more energy that then you can use in your life. You can also use it to get healthier if that's part of it, or you can use it to, do the mom thing. It's your energy. It was always there. So what does resilience look like during the pandemic with biohacking? The number one thing you can do is say, well, how am I doing what I already do? And can I do it better without a lot of work? This is that strategic laziness we talked about. The number one place to start biohacking, aside from fasting, which is like, it saves you money and time. It is really a big thing. So skip breakfast already. And there's a whole book about how to do that I would recommend, but I don't have to. Stephen will. And then the next thing to focus on is sleep. And sleep has a return on investment. You are going to spend 6 or 7 or 8 hours in bed, right? And did you do a good job or a bad job? And there are things you can do that are in the realm of changing the environment around you. You do them one time and you sleep better always. Number one, get some blackout curtains already. So if you can see a street light from around your curtains, that amount of light caused a 69% increase in depression in a study of 900 men in Japan. So you need to be in a cave. That's where you're supposed to sleep. That's where your people slept. No matter where you're from, we all slept in caves at some point going back however many million years or something. So a completely blacked room, no LEDs, none of that stuff. Put your phone in airplane mode. Turn off your Wi-Fi router. Yes, those reduce sleep quality. And when you do that, that alone could make a difference. Eat dinner a little bit earlier. Dim the lights before bed. Maybe wear my fancy glasses if you really want to do that. But the point there, if you just get more deep sleep and more REM sleep in the same amount of time, your ability to lose weight, to regulate your blood sugar, to do all kinds of crazy stuff, it goes up. You actually have more mental and emotional control, but you spent the same amount of time in bed as you did before. So this is the number one thing. And if you're scrolling, like doom scrolling, whatever Google News thing, stop looking at Google News. It's garbage. The algorithm is terrible. So don't do that. Either curate your own news feed. There's apps that'll do that are really cool, like News 360. You actually tell it what you want to see and they show you more. Whereas Google's like, what's most addictive and scary? I'll show you that. So don't do social media before bed. Maybe journal, maybe breathe. There's all kinds of stuff, but really just get a good night's sleep, and everything, including fasting, is easier. So that's your number one place to start. Number two, hop in the shower. Whenever you take your shower, at the end of the shower, all at once, turn the water to cold and make it hit you right in the forehead and chest. And when you do this, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna say, Dave Asprey's an asshole. Okay. And it's going to take you 3 days. The first day, you've got about 10, 15 seconds before you're like, I got a headache. I have to get out. Your body's lying. You won't die if you stand for a minute, but it'll feel like you're going to die. So you'll hop out. The next day, you're going to last 30, 40 seconds, and you're still going to swear at me. The third day, you're going to maybe make it a minute, but you're going to hate it. And the fourth day, you're going to do it, and magically, you're like, oh my God, I feel so good. And what's going on is just 3 days of brief cold exposure at the end of your shower, and you can turn it warm again afterwards if you need to. But just 3 days of that changes the level of something called cardiolipin in your cell membranes to make them better at making energy more quickly. And then if you do get exposed to any kind of infectious agent, whatever it is, your cells are better able to turn on energy more quickly to deal with it. So you just built resilience in. Cold showers are cheaper than hot showers. Skipping breakfast is cheaper than eating breakfast. And getting blackout curtains, well, it might cost you some money, but you can use aluminum foil if you don't like your neighbors. Okay, like these are not high cost interventions.
Those are brilliant. Those are brilliant. Inflammation, David. When we're doing intermittent fasting, we're decreasing inflammation, aren't we? It's a major benefit, and inflammation puts us at higher risk for things like cancer. Even, I mean, so
every disease of aging is tied to inflammation, and inflammation itself is really easy. It means your body sucks at combining food and air and making energy. Some of the stuff that was supposed to go into power went into inflammatory molecules. So you make your cells better at producing energy, you drop inflammation. You get worse at making energy, then you get more inflammation. And so really, is inflammation the root cause of these diseases, or is it just doing a bad job of making energy? Funny enough, do a good job of making energy, and then you have the energy, and that's enough energy to not yell at your kids when they really deserve it. Like the energy is yours.
I love this.
So we have to let you go, unfortunately, because I seriously could have a 3-week podcast with you. So much information that I love. And I hope people really think about what you said, especially, again, like I said, getting your immune system to a place where if you do, or / when you do, I have a theory we're all going to get COVID. We're all going to get it, right?
That's what all the experts are saying. It'll be endemic. So it's coming. It's okay. The odds are pretty good you'll survive.
But yes, but have an immune system that is awake and ready.
Stack the odds in your favor.
So really quickly, I want to just, before we go over the Fat This Way, the website. Okay.
Fast this way,
fasting challenge. I'm going to sign up. I'm for sure going to sign up. And you're going to send me where I can get naked with, it doesn't have to be Koreans, but whoever is there, you're going to send me that, right?
Upgradelabs.com. There you go.
Upgrade Labs.
Yep.
Okay. And then you're working on a cryogenic car, right? So that you just drive to your destination and get.
It also goes to Mars. It's super cool.
Okay. But I want to just really quickly, before we let you go, make sure that people are fully aware that you have done this all to yourself.
Did.
Right, did. And you still do, right? Like you.
Absolutely.
Sure, yeah. So I don't like being yelled at that I'm not a doctor, so I'm not allowed to have opinions on how to.
But Kira, you're a comic. You're used to hecklers. Just look at them and be like, you're not a doctor either, so STFU. And then what's the problem?
Yeah, but sometimes they are. They're fancy, right? They're not a doctor, but I went to biology university
but
or
that's
whatever.
Easy. Then you go, well, if you're a doctor, how come you're fat?
Oh, you're right.
The doctors who tell you to rely on calories, they look like shit. And that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know.
That's very true. Okay.
In other words, you can be totally into health and wellness and knowledgeable without all the fancy degrees, and you're also the co-host of Medically Induced Comedy, which we thank Dave Asprey for coming on, and get his new book Fast This Way. Go to fastthisway.com and join the class, the free class. He's teaching you his book. Can't be easier. And you learned how to start the process on this very podcast. Go to eat earlier, go to bed earlier, and have a little bit of Bulletproof coffee. You won't be hungry. I'm living proof. You will not be hungry until dinner. That's as honest to God. That is what I feel every day.
Thank you, Dave, for being a guest. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You guys are awesome. And thank you for allowing me to channel my inner 7th grader. And this is probably the worst interview I've ever done in terms of inappropriate humor. And I'm very happy I did it. I feel like I've released something here.
What did we say? We said nothing. What did we say? A sweaty taint? That's nothing. That's totally innocent.
That's
all right. We have to go deeper.
Okay, next time. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank
See
you
you
so
later.
much. Thank you, Dave. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
There's a doctor named Steven Eisenberg down San Diego way. He's got a didgeridoo, and man, you just gotta hear him play. When his people come in for chemo, he knows they'll be upset. He picks up that didgeridoo and plays music they can't forget. Dr. Steven Eisenberg, Dr. Steven, woo, Dr. Steven Eisenberg, Dr. Steven Eisenberg.